Hey, Pluto, I am new to astrology and I just looked at my chart and I discovered that I have my Pluto in Libra. What can you tell me about that? Oh, my beautiful Pluto in Libra. What a generation to be born in. You guys are the middle childs of the zodiac, as you were born between the boomers and the millennials. And because your generation didn't cause such a ruckus like the boomers and the millennials, you can often be overlooked. Okay, now that's some fascinating stuff. I do kind of relate to the stigmas of a middle child in some ways. As you should. Being a middle child in a family often comes with certain stereotypes, many of which are shaped by family dynamics and social expectations. And while not every Pluto in Libra will experience these, the following are some of the most common perceptions of being a middle child. They include being overlooked or forgotten, struggling for attention in the family, being the peacemaker or the mediator of the family, feeling inferior, becoming rebellious or independent, feeling like a black sheep, being shy or introverted, and having a strong sense of justice. Dang, although I'm an only child, I resonate highly with what you're saying so far. Y'all's generation got sandwiched in between two very opinionated generations. Now, Pluto is a generational planet, so this is going to be some very broad information. The real heart and soul of Pluto will play out through the houses that it's in, as well as the aspects made to it by your other energies in your chart. But generally, you find that the Pluto and Libra generation incarnated to bring transformation into this world around topics of justice and equality. And they came into this world to transform how the world views relationships. Tell me more. Well, Libra is ruled by Venus, the planet of love and beauty. And Libra is represented by the symbol of the scales, emphasizing the pursuit of balance and fairness and justice. And at the core of a Libra is this desire for balance. And not just personal balance, but equilibrium that serves the collective good. Libras can be good at seeing all sides of a situation and bringing fairness to conflicts. However, the shadow side of Libra comes into play by being overly focused on pleasing others or avoiding conflict at all cost. Their need to maintain harmony can lead to this crippling indecision and self-sacrifice, and they can have a tendency to suppress their own needs for the sake of peace. But when Libra is aligned with its highest potential, it is most certainly a force to be reckoned with. And what about Pluto? Pluto is the planet of power and transformation and the unconscious. Pluto is the ruler of death and rebirth. It is very familiar with destruction, but that destruction clears the way for new growth. It is the planet that asks us to confront our deepest fears and unresolved wounds and the subconscious desires that we have in order to evolve and transmute these pains. So what happens when Pluto meets Libra? Well, when they come together, they ask us to be honest and brave enough to face our collective shadows, our prejudices, our biases, our unconscious behaviors, and then rebuild the systems and relationships in a way that is truly fair and just for all. That's all my little Libras want, is fairness for everyone. And they came after a very greedy generation that wanted to take everything for themselves. I feel that so strongly as a Pluto in Libra. Just think of all of the things that occurred in the world when Pluto transited this sign. At the time, there were fewer opportunities for girls to participate in competitive sports at the high school and collegiate levels in the United States. Colleges and universities often had these policies that discriminated against women. These policies would limit their access to certain academic programs and even to college admissions. Now, women that were accepted to college were guided towards what previous generations deemed as appropriate fields, so something like teaching or nursing, instead of just being able to enter into any career field that they wanted. But this all changed when the U.S. entered legislation that significantly impacted gender equality in education and sports. Passed as part of the Education Amendments of 1972, Title IX prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in any federally funded education program or activity. And then there was the Wounded Knee occupation that occurred in 1973. A group of Native American activists took control of this small town of Wounded Knee, which was located on the Pine Ridge Reservation. And they were protesting issues of inequality and poverty and mistreatment of the Native Americans, as well as the U.S. government not honoring treaties that they had previously signed. And although after the occupation there was no immediate change, it did set the stage for the creation of the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act of 1975, which allowed tribes to take over management of federal programs on their reservations. And it created the Indian Religious Freedom Act of 1978, which protected Native American religious practices. I'm kind of proud of the changes that were made when Pluto was in Libra. Oh wait, there's more. The Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 was passed, which prohibited discrimination against individuals with disabilities in programs and activities that received federal financial assistance in the United States. Now, this was a crucial legal victory for the disability rights movement. The famous court case Roe versus Wade was decided during the Pluto and Libra transit. Now, in the United States, the Supreme Court legalized abortion, allowing women to make choices about their own body. But things weren't just occurring here in the United States. There were movements happening all over the world. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms was enacted, which was a part of the Constitution Act of 1982. Now, this act guaranteed fundamental rights and freedoms for all individuals in Canada. It provided strong legal protections for the freedom of expression, the right to vote, and protection from discrimination. The charter also included the right to a fair trial and protection against unreasonable detention. In 1975, under the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, the government of India declared a state of emergency due to political instability and a threat to national security. Now, during this period, many civil liberties were suspended and many activists were imprisoned. But you know Pluto is not going to be controlled. The leaders of the anti-emergency movement began to advocate for a return of democracy and civil rights. And post-emergency, there was a stronger emphasis on individual freedoms and human right protections. Wow, I didn't realize so much was going on in the world. Now, the children that grew up during this transit faced a lot of challenges as well. This was a time in the world where transformations occurred in relationships. Many people with Pluto and Libra grew up as latchkey kids, which meant they often came home from school to an empty house because both parents were working. And this was a result of changing family dynamics and increasing number of women joining the workforce during the 1970s and the 1980s. But this experience led many kids to become more independent, self-reliant, and quite resourceful. They had to navigate daily life without constant adult supervision. This era saw an increasing number of divorces and single-parent families as well. Gone were the days where partners would stay together for survival reasons. Relationships deeply transformed people during this time, and I mean all relationships. Romantic ones, business ones, parent-child ones, and little Libra children are often empathetic and sensitive to others. They could have found that they grew up in a family with arguing where they felt like they had to be the peacemakers. And one of the shadow effects of this generation is they could have grown up with no real sense of identity. This was a time where children were often to be seen and not heard. You didn't speak up to your parents because if you did, there would be consequences. And this was a time where religion was important and traditional, and you never questioned it as a child. Some children were viewed as an extension of their parent, or some children were who their parents wanted them to be. They never got to discover who they truly were in life. And this could have manifested in a variety of different ways. Because of the rise of single-parent household, the child may have felt responsible for the emotional well-being of their parents or their siblings, causing them to suppress their own desires and interests and needs. And also, depending on what generation the Pluto and Libra's parents came from, it's possible that their parents may have had these unrealistic expectations for them or placed this intense pressure on the child to follow a specific path. And the Libra Pluto, not wanting to upset anyone, just followed what their parents said. You know, if the child was left to be on his or her own after school, it can lead a child to be in survival mode versus self-exploration mode. So children of this generation may not have had the same opportunities as children today to discover who they truly were until later years in life. Pluto and Libras have to learn who they are and what their identity is. And then they spend their life transforming from what others told them to be into the person that they want to be. But I'm here to tell you, it's not easy to overcome that when that people-pleasing runs deep in your veins. All I know is I am so glad the Pluto and Libra generation incarnated. They have a natural gift for making people feel valued and appreciated and creating environments that are warm and welcoming and full of understanding, because they have lived through times where the world was not any of those things for them. And they are skilled at resolving conflicts without war and seeing multiple perspectives, making them amazing friends and partners. I just love their charm and grace and their sense of fairness. It just makes my heart so full. So if you have a Pluto in Libra, how has this placement affected you? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And if you do have this placement and want to hear more stories of other famous people that have this placement, then I got you. I have some intriguing stories of other Pluto and Libras and how they managed to rise above the people pleasing. If you are interested, I will leave a link to the stories in the description below. And if you would like to watch some more captivating astrology videos, then I invite you to check out my Patreon, where we go over some hot topics in astrology. And if there's a particular aspect or placement that you would like me to cover, you can vote or share what you would like to see on this channel next. There are also some powerful meditations and affirmations that help you work through the shadow work. It's a great place to go and invest in yourself this lifetime. So if you're interested, I invite you to check it out. Mwah.